We are on page 617 right now, and we're going to just do a couple of problems, and then I'm going to get you going on the worksheet so you have time to work today. So on the independent practice on 617 with your calculator right next to you, looking at number 1. So if you're given the diameter, we're going to find the opposite. We're going to find the radius. And so that means here, if I have the diameter, I need to cut that in half to get the radius, so 5 divided by 2, and that's going to give me a radius of 2.5 millimeters. Right? We need half of that for the radius. Number 2, you're given the diameter again, and it's 24 feet. So we're going to find the radius on that. We're going to take that 24 and cut it in half, 24 divided by 2. And we're going to get a radius of 12 feet. Number 3, you're given the radius of 17 centimeters, and so we need to find that diameter all the way across the circle through the center. And so that means we have to multiply 17 times 2, and that's going to give us 34 centimeters for the diameter. Okay, again, we need this to help us when we find circumference. So looking at number 4. Now in the directions here, find the circumference of each circle. Use 3.14 or this 22/7, the fraction for pi. So what we're going to do is just use the pi key. We're going to practice that pi key. Okay, we're going to use that pi key on your calculator. So coming over to number 4, we have a diameter, so I'm going to put D equals diameter of 8 feet. And so for us to calculate this using this formula, circumference equals pi times diameter, we're going to use that pi key and we're going to multiply it by that 8. We have the diameter, so we're going to multiply it by it. So on your calculator right now, what you should be doing is pressing the pi key that I showed you in the warm-up video. And we're going to multiply that by that diameter of 8, pi times 8. And when you do, you see a large decimal again. Whoops. And starts out like this, 25.132, and then it just keeps going. This says to round to the nearest tenth. So if we round this to the nearest tenth, we're going to say the circumference, the perimeter around the circle is 25.1 feet. 25.1 feet, nearest tenth. Number 5, we're going to do the same thing because you have the diameter here. So we're sticking with this formula, pi times diameter. So we're going to use the pi key and we're going to multiply it by this diameter we have of 13 centimeters. So pi times 13. So in your calculator again, use that pi key times 13. And you're going to see, comes out as a decimal like this, 40.8407, and it keeps going. Because remember, pi is giving you the most accurate decimal. And now we're going to round it to the nearest tenth, so we can't write that whole decimal down, right? So 40 point, nearest tenth, one place past. So I look at that 4 in the hundredths, and that tells me what to do to the 8. And the 4 is not going to round the 8 up. So it's 40.8 centimeters. Okay, there's your circumference around that circle. Number 6. So find that circumference using the pi key times diameter. Now we have to be careful here. On the picture, you see the radius. The radius equals 3.5 miles. Well, we got to find the diameter, right? And so that means we have to take this and multiply it by 2. So I'm going to come down here and take 3.5 times 2. We got to double it, right? We need that diameter to go all the way across to help us with our formula. So if I do 3.5 times 2, 3.5 times 2, I get a diameter of 7 miles. This 7 miles is what I need to use in my formula. So I'm going to take pi and multiply it by that 7. You need the diameter, 7 miles. Okay, pi times 7. Pi key times 7. So you start to see this decimal, 21.9911, and it just keeps going. If I round that to the nearest tenth, I look in the hundredths at the 9. That tells me what to do in the tenths, and it tells me I need to round up. So that means my final answer, if I'm rounding up, I'm running out of room over here, 22 miles is your circumference on that circle. Okay, we're going to stop with the book. I just wanted to go over those examples with you one more time to practice it. And we're going to now have time to work on the worksheet. So like I said, your crew teacher passed out to you. It's a front and back worksheet. And so the front side looks like this, lesson 1, extra practice. And then on the back, it looks like this, circumference of a circle maze. So coming back to the front side here, you're really going to do exactly what we just talked about in the book. And so 1 through 6, you're going to find the opposite of what's given to you. So you're either going to find the radius or diameter based on what they're giving you. And then 7 through 14 is where you're going to find circumference. Now, that's your formula. So your pi times diameter. If you notice in the directions, it says use 3.14 or 22 over 7 for pi. So how about for this side here, this front side, and the back side, because it's going to ask you to round to the nearest tenth, I want you to use only 3.14. That's it. So let's see if I can, there we go. I just want you to use this. That's it. I don't want you to use the pi key this time. Because it has you rounding to the nearest tenth, it's going to be easier to just use the rounded version of pi of 3.14. I want you to understand how to use both. Okay, that's why we practice the pi key. Now, to make it a little easier for yourself on this worksheet, just use 3.14. And here's the formula again. C equals pi, which you're going to use 3.14 times diameter. Okay. And the backside, the same thing. Because if you notice in this maze, as you start to find circumference, everything is rounded to the nearest tenth. So you're going to start at your starting point here, and you're going to find circumference of that circle. And once you get your answer, it's either going to lead you down to the next one, it's going to lead you diagonally to the next one, or right across from it to the right to the next one, depending on what you get for this first answer. You'll end up in the end. Oops, don't want that. To be able to work through and finish your maze. So that's what you're working on the rest of the hour. This is due Friday. Like I said, we're actually on Friday going to correct it. And so what that means is you'll come in on Friday. I'll have some answer keys available for you. And this will be something I actually collect. Your math teachers will collect. So if you don't finish it in class today, then you do have to finish it at home. Also, while you're in class, if you're here in person, if it's okay with your crew teacher, you can work with someone else. By all means, you can, if that's okay with them, to help you get through both sides of the worksheet. have a great day. Enjoy the rest of your hour, and I will meet you back here Friday morning.